what's going on, Los Angeles? What is up, Ramley? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB Network, live on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio. Thank you, as always, for making us a part of your day. Just the two gentlemen here today. No guest for you. We've had a nice run of guests, which has been great, especially in the offseason. We always appreciate that. We'll have plenty more guests over the remaining offseason and into the season. We didn't do as much last year's Skinny, but I think this year we got to do a lot more of our preview shows with guests of the teams the Rams are playing. But anyway, that's a few months down the line. So, but for today, you get just myself and the man, not so much myth, but definitely legend, Ryan Skinny T. Anderson. What's up, brother? How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I just want to thank all of our viewers, our listeners out there. Last couple episodes, you guys have really turned out and shown us just how much you love the Rams and the Skinny. So I just really appreciate you guys showing up and showing the love. So thank you.
Yes. The growth has been great. So, and apparently the Rams fans don't love PFF guys, which is fine. You know, that's what makes sports so fun. So disagreeing, can always disagree on things. As long as you don't disagree with us, you know, we're all good. You can disagree with our guests as much as you want.
Disagree with us. Call me an idiot. My skin is getting thicker by the episode.
Yes. Yeah. No, we love, that's the point of sports debate, is having some disagreement and having some fun with it, as long as it's respectful, which I would say almost 100% of the time. There's been a few, but most of the time, everyone's always respectful about it, which is great. All we can ask. So today's show, we're going to start with a little gossip. We actually wrote this story 6 days ago, and just randomly today, it actually started creeping up. Today's Thursday, started really gaining steam on social media. And that's the old Kelly Stafford drama, which isn't really drama, but her story on a podcast regarding her, I guess, dating of Stafford years and years ago. So we'll talk gossip for maybe less than 5 minutes. So don't worry, true diehard fans. After that, we're going to go, I don't even know what you want to call this, but our 5-1 things. Does that sound good for a segment?
I love that. Yeah, 5-1 things.
Just came with that on the spot. It just came to me.
Yeah.
So our 5-1 things. So one concern, one thing we're most looking forward to, one breakout player, one highest performing rookie, and one bold prediction for your 2024 Los Angeles Rams. What's not a bold prediction is what you should be doing with your extra cash, and that's going to betonline.ag. Actually, I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't want to give betting advice, but if you have extra cash and you want to have some fun, you can do it at betonline.ag. Play all the games. Basketball's done, but hockey. Have you been watching the hockey playoffs at all? I mean,
dude,
Oilers coming back.
Matthew Tkachuk just flying down the ice. That's going to be a highlight for the rest of our lives, even though Connor McDavid ended up scoring, putting it in the net on the empty netter. But that was a hustle play.
If he did that, for those who didn't see, it was in game 5, empty netter. Edmonton cleared the puck. Tkachuk skating his life off, dives full body, and the puck is inches from crossing the line. He's able to swoop it with the stick to the corner. And like you said, right in the corner, though, then McDavid got it and scored. So if, though, Tkachuk does that, and somehow there's a little more time on the clock, they go back up the ice, score, tie the game, and end up winning the cup in overtime, because they've been in, game-winning situations for the last 2 games. That would have to go down as maybe a top 10 sports moment ever, not just in hockey.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
in the net laying there. Yeah, but
I think they're playing tonight, actually, in Edmonton, game 6. See if they can push it to 7. You can bet on that game on Bet Online, or Major League Baseball. Dodgers doing well, first in the NL, and obviously all our futures prop bets for the Rams, MVP, Super Bowl odds, and stuff like that. All that can be done at betonline.ag. Tell them the guys at the Rams Skinny over at the LA Football Network sent you. All right, so we try not to get into gossip, but we can quickly talk about it since it seems to be trending. Kelly Stafford, I don't even know, was it on her podcast or was she guesting on a podcast?
This is how little I pay attention to Kelly Stafford unless she says something crazy. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know either. Even though we have an article about it, I don't particularly know. I didn't write the article. So, but the article you can find at lafbnetwork.com, shameless plug. On a podcast, she tells a story about how and I'm just paraphrasing kind of what she said. I'm not going to assume all these different details because we just have a little snippet. But basically her and Stafford were, I don't even know if it was off and on again, but basically had kind of a up and down relationship, and she dated the backup quarterback to basically get him angry and basically get him to either leave or commit, like pick a lane, right? Like we all have those, I think, situations in dating, not necessarily where our significant other dates like our best friend, but you get to that crossroads where it's like, hey, you got to put up or shut up, right? Like, are you in this or are you out? And so she went that route of seeing if he was in or out. He obviously was in. Rest of sister, they're married, 4 girls, blah, 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 blah. It's funny though, because, and we were talking about this off air, like Matthew Stafford is the most like even keel. He keeps his private life. He's all about football, focused in. And then he's got his wife on her podcast that just airs all their dirty laundry. And, he's got to be at home like, well, Kelly, we got to have this talk again. What'd you think of that? What'd you think of it?
Yeah, so it was on a not her podcast, something called Off the Vine with somebody named Kristen Bristow, I'm going to say.
Okay, shout out.
Yeah, I mean, when we were young, when we've all been there in our 20s, in our college years, we try different games to get people's attention and keep people's attention, and for me, she would have been on the curb at that point. I never bit the making me jealous kind of thing from the ladies I dated. If that ever happened, it was I always gave them the cold shoulder. No phone calls.
Yeah,
that's
play games.
Yeah, exactly. No time for games. But he's a highly competitive guy, and this is the backup quarterback, and it crosses the bro code. I put it on the backup.
That's the bigger storyline here.
I think so. He should have the backup quarterback. I don't know who the backup quarterback in 2009 was for
Stetson Bennett.
He's been there.
Yeah. He was there that long. Yeah.
That's the story. That's the real story.
Now he's the backup again. Here we go.
Rams fans, get in our comments and tell us why Stetson Bennett is so incredibly interesting to you all. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. Is and I won't mention who it was, but I did have a significant other at one point actually call up a boss of mine and tell him a few things that she didn't like about how he was treating me. So I had to have like a conversation with her of like, don't do that.
Like, I appreciate you, but that's not the right. Yeah. Interesting. So but yeah, I mean, I think what's, I don't know what you want to, funny or again, the snippet literally, I have it here in front of me. The quote that I've seen, I did not watch the entire podcast, so maybe it did come out. But it basically says, at first I hated him. I loved him. I dated the backup to piss him off, which worked. He was a bad boy. 2, like Matthew's so sweet and a Southern gentleman, all that stuff. And the backup was the complete opposite. It upset him, which it worked, thankfully. That's all that I know about it. But now you have all these aggregators on Twitter. They're literally like tweeting that Kelly Stafford cheats on Matthew during college or sleeps with teammates. And it's like, maybe she said that later on, I don't know. But from that quote, I'm like, that's the danger of when you bring up old dirt like this that means nothing, is you get all these aggregators that potentially just make up the juicify, which is not even a word, but to juicify the story. Because if that didn't happen, like if she literally just like went to like a burger joint with this guy one time and they had dinner and then that was it, then like, okay, like then, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But if she legit like varsity blues the guy and tried to, wear the whole whipped cream bikini in front of the backup quarterback and kind of, and moxed him, well then, yeah.
Nice references. Did some quick research here. Joe Cox. So you got
man. Oh, not to be confused with Mox from Varsity Blues. So
exactly,
these are all just lining up. We didn't even plan this out.
Yeah, so I think Joe Cox, get your priorities straight, get yourself figured out, and make sure you're not dating anybody's girlfriend, breaking the bro code there for sure.
Where's Joe Cox now? Is he like a car salesman? Salesman?
No, he works for Alabama Athletics. He's a football coach, so he landed on his feet all right. He did okay for himself.
Okay, all right.
Still
Joe
in the
Cox.
SEC.
All right, good for you. Probably not welcome in the Stafford household, but neither here nor there. All right, enough gossip. Let's move on. So 5 things for the Rams 21 season. Let's start first. One concern, and I feel like we've probably talked about a bunch over the course of the last few months, but one concern you have, Skinny T, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with the Matthew Stafford contract situation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What's going on with that? I don't think it's going to leak over into the league. Probably not into training camp. I think this is actually going to be a concern that's going to raise its ugly head later on. When we're in a situation where Aaron Donald's retired and the team is still paying him $24 million against the cap. So that's just kind of my future worries about what the Matthew Stafford contract means kind of going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's again concern. I don't know if it's too strong a word, but I think it's definitely viable. I mean, at this point, from what we know, Stafford hasn't said anything about holding out, but we know he wants a new contract, whether it's more guarantees, whether it's longer, whatever it comes down to be. There's something that needs to get done. All indications are it will get done. The team doesn't seem concerned, but this came up before the draft, right? And here we are in June, and nothing has gotten done yet. So I think it's a viable concern.
What do you think? What do you think? What do you make of the non-movement on this subject, particularly? Like that there hasn't been something worked out. Like
that's what's always so weird to me, right? Like I get it if you have kind of a younger player that's getting into his second contract and they think they're worth blah 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 blah, and the team is like, well, we don't need to think you're worth that, or we just won't pay you that much because of salary cap issues, and so there's a lot of back and forth in that. But this one's just so weird because this is your franchise quarterback, won a Super Bowl, like he's under contract still. It's not like there's the contract's expiring. He has plenty of 3 years left on his deal. There just seems to be language and different guarantees that need to be worked out. So to me, I feel like this could have been ironed out in like 24 hours. I don't really, unless they're like so far apart. That's what's weird to me. Like if we were on like a business thing, like me and you, and you're like, hey, I want this. I'm like, all right, well, let's get this done like ASAP. I'm not going to hold it out for 4 months and just like, we'll talk about it then. So that it is a little weird.
yeah, yeah, and that's my biggest question is, what does he want and what is the team not willing to give? I mean, if it's just guaranteed money, if it's just a bonus that he wants, that's no big deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Daddy Warbucks, Mr. Cronky there.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of money. I mean, maybe that's not in the budget. I don't know. It's confusing, and that's why it concerns me. Is that it? Like you look at Trevor Lawrence deal, they took care of that right away. And now the conversation begins: is he worth the kind of money that they gave him? Is he not worth that? That's not the conversation we need to have. It's like just pay your quarterback. You got to have him. Now, this is the most concerning thing. If they move forward, getting into September, no contract, he wants to hold out into the season. Jimmy Garoppolo is suspended for the first 2 weeks. You got Stetson Bennett,
old Joe Cox coming to the rescue.
Stetson Bennett, or Dresser Wynn, if he actually exists, is going to be your starting quarterback. So there's a lot of pressure, I would say, for on the Rams to get this done before the season starts. I'm not concerned. I'm just confused. So maybe it's a one confusion rather than a one concern,
one confusion. Yeah. It's got to get done before the season starts. Hands down. Totally agree there. I love how much access we've gotten in recent years to, the draft, like behind the scenes video of the draft. One just came out on the Rams and the draft, and a lot of that, those deals, those trades happen like you see them like that. Like pick up the phone. What do you want? Okay, you got it. Boom. Let's make it happen. And then you hit up your guy like, hey, we're giving up this. How does that affect the salary cap? Boom. Okay. All this stuff. I don't understand just how I would love to see a behind the scenes of like contract negotiation. Like for all we know, the agent and the team could have a phone call and then not talk again for 2 months. I mean, there's no way that they're talking every day and it takes this long. It's got to be like, hey, this is what Matthew wants. Let us know when you can make that happen. And the Rams are like, all right, we'll call you in 2 months. Like that's the only thing that explains it. Because I don't know why it would take this long if you're talking actually every day about it. And I know in the realm of the NFL, the players and coaches, they're all out of it. Like Stafford probably told his agent, like, hey, I want fully guaranteed, make it happen. And then the agent is talking to Les Snead and Tony Pastors and all the powers that be. But again, if they're talking every day, like I don't see how it either is not going to happen at all or it'd be done. So to me, they're just not talking.
Yeah, the kind of the last question I have on the subject is what is particularly Les Snead's thinking around getting this deal done. Now, obviously, like I was saying with Aaron Donald, they got themselves into a bit of a hole. They got themselves into a bad situation where they owe him against the cap, and he's not even on the team. He's on the team making $25 million against the cap, and they still have the least expensive defense in the league, by the way. That's neither here nor there. But my point being is what, they didn't draft a quarterback. They have no succession plan. What are they thinking in terms of Stafford's longevity? How long do they want to pay him? How much longer do they want to invest in him? And it seems like that's maybe where they're wavering.
Yeah.
In my head, that's the only thing I can think of is like, if he's Trevor Lawrence's age or I mean, they just paid Kirk Cousins. I think they're both 36.
I think, yeah, right around the same age. Yeah.
So like,
he probably saw that and he's like, I need that kind of guarantees.
I think so.
Yeah. I think he makes more on an average per year, but it's only after this year, nothing's guaranteed. So that's the big difference. Yeah. Where I think Kirk's is like 3 years fully guaranteed or something like that. So
yeah, and anyway. Just to close it out. I mean, guaranteed money in the NFL is just the most ludicrous thing that owners are still not required to pay out a certain percentage of guaranteed money. Maybe they are a certain percentage, but like the reactions to like fully guaranteed contracts, everybody freaks out.
Yeah, and then we could do a whole podcast on that. Like, are you pro, not saying you, but just like in general, are you pro just making it like baseball and basketball where everything's just fully guaranteed? Is there, some more gamesmanship and negotiation tactics that make the league give it more parity with the way it is? Is it, fair to the players? Like, I mean, there's tons of conversations about that we get into, which we won't have time today. So my one concern, and again, concern is, we're in June, maybe it's too strong a word, but I guess my one concern right now would be defensive play calling. And that's not a knock on Chris Shula. It's just, we don't know. He's never really called plays. He's always been kind of a linebacker coach within the system. He's been here forever with Sean McVay, so he knows, the facility, knows Sean McVay, knows a lot of these players that have been here. So that's all great. But he will be the first time running the defense on his own, with the head coach being an offensive guy. So he's the CEO of that defense, fully doing it. From linebacker coach to CEO is a fairly big jump. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but that would be my one concern, just knowing how that transition will be. Because we've seen times over, and I'm not saying Chris Shula, but I remember last year with the Niners, Steve Wilkes, DC, veteran defensive coordinator. Steve Wilkes was a head coach also. Great DC for Carolina, got the head coaching job for Arizona. And they were like, I can't remember how, but I feel like there were multiple times where Kyle Shanahan like publicly said like, oh yeah, Steve Wilkes had the wrong call there and it cost us. Like when they'd give up like points at the end of halves or something, like, oh yeah, we should have been running this defense. And Steve Wilkes did, like, not putting him on blast that much, but essentially saying like, our DC effed up. How is Chris Shula going to adapt to those situations of being able to call the right plays at the right time, have his guys in the right situation? Because not only is he a first-time DC, first-time play caller, there's a lot of new faces on this defense, and you can't just rely on an Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey to kind of bail you out. It's like you got to make sure you're calling the right set plays at the right time, at the right moments. So concern, it'll be my one concern, but definitely I think it's let's see how this plays out because it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I should say, Chris Shula could be great. We don't know.
Yeah, could be fantastic.
His grandfather was a great coach. His dads were, coaches as well.
Yeah.
But he's got it in his genes. He's probably a toddler bouncing on old Don's knee there, watching tape with him, something like that. He could be great. He also could be awful. We don't know. And that's where the concern comes up. And we're not going to bet on awful. We're going to bet, this is an optimistic podcast. We're going to bet on good. But you look at what they lost on the defensive coaching side.
Yeah.
I think Raheem Morris probably got his job, his rightful job as a head coach at Atlanta. I thought they were going to hire him after he was the interim coach there.
Yeah.
But you look at what they lost in Raheem Morris. I mean, the 2023 defense was not good, but they were a lot better than they ought to have been, given the talent and the experience that they had, or the lack thereof, on that side of the ball. And you got to chalk that up to a certain amount of coaching. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously those guys came to play. They came out there to compete. they're playing for their NFL careers. They could easily be replaced by a free agent or a draft pick, but just kind of set it up. This is what they've lost. So is Chris Shula as good or better than Raheem Morris? And I can't give you an affirmative or a negative there, but like, we saw what it can be with Raheem Morris, and you lose Aaron Donald and Eric Henderson and Jimmy Lake, and so it's this will segue perfectly into the thing I'm most excited about. But yeah, that's just kind of where I am with Chris Shula. But it's great shout out, because there's concerns across the board on this defense, and that's probably the biggest one, I would say.
Yeah. So if you're on radio, got to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages. But yeah, I mean, I know we keep kind of harping on it. So, apologize, listeners and viewers if you're getting sick of it. But I don't know if, and again, we're not saying it's going to be a disaster. Like, I think this team and this organization has proven how well they adapt. But I just don't think there's been enough talk, concern, whatever you want to call it, about what was lost. And obviously everyone knows about Aaron Donald, but Raheem Morris, Jimmy Lake, Eric Henderson, those are all, obviously Raheem Morris was the DC. Jimmy Lake was a head coach and a DC. Eric Henderson is now a DC, co-DC at USC, and could have probably been a DC much earlier in the NFL if given the opportunity. So you lose 3 quote unquote DC coaches and promote one that has never done that. Again, not at all saying Chris Shula can't be great, but it's just, it's a big change. And so he'll be tasked. And if this Rams defense is even as good as it was last year, to me, Chris Shula should win assistant coach of the year, because of what and maybe there's some bias there, but his newness to it and what the Rams lost on defense and the turnover there. If they're even a sub 15 defense, like, hats off, Chris Shula, you're my assistant of the year. Like, that's an incredible coaching job in your first stint as DC. So I'm excited to see it. I can't wait. We're his biggest fans. How cool is it? The 2 lead man for the Rams, Sean McVay and Chris Shula, both legendary grandfathers in the NFL game. Like, pretty sweet. And they're both reside here in LA now.
Yeah, super cool.
All right. One thing you're most looking forward to.
I'm most looking forward to a high-powered, efficient, bone-crushing offense. This is going to be a physical offense.
Check the low-hanging fruit.
But I keep getting more and more excited about it. You think about a completely healthy Cooper Kupp. I don't believe he was ever fully healthy last season. With what we know Puka Nacua now can be.
Yep.
A revamped offensive line. I kind of dove into Alaric Jackson's numbers again. And Steve Avila's numbers again. This is an upgrade. Steve Avila had a great year for a rookie, but he still allowed 32 pressures, which was, I think, sixth most among rookies from last year, in the top 20 among all guards. Kyron Williams did not run as well behind them as he did between Dotson and Rob Havenstein. So improved offensive line, a 1-2 punch in the backfield, where if Kyron Williams does get hurt, you've got Blake Corum back there, just kind of next man up, slide right in there, take the load off him. So hopefully he won't be hurt. Kyron Williams still dealing with a foot injury, seems to be nagging him for years now. So they've shored up everything. Anything you can really think about. Maybe number 3 receiver, but you got Demarcus Robinson there, and he did really good stuff down the stretch. So
yeah,
I'm expecting this to be top 3 offense in the league.
Ooh, love that. Love that. That could be, I don't know if that's a bold prediction, but obviously you got to do something different now anyway. So you wasted your potential bold prediction. But no, I mean, obviously that's what I think everyone's most excited for. So I'll do something different. But the offense, I mean, can't wait, right? This offensive line, bunch of bone crushers, bring your lunch pail to work kind of guys. Matthew Stafford fully healthy, this receiving core of arguably 2 top 5 receivers in all of football on the same team. This great 1-2 punch of running backs. Plus you still, at this point, we'll see what it looks like after training camp, but the additions of Boston Scott, and you still have Zach Evans and Ronnie Rivers. So, I mean, a really deep running back room that gives you some different changes there. Really excited about the tight ends also. Tyler Higbee getting back healthy, hopefully soon after the season. And then, what we saw in Davis Allen, I think there's something to be said about. Obviously, Colby Parkinson signed, but he'll be more of a blocking tight end. But I think Davis Allen showed some good promise there. So a lot of great stuff on the offense to look forward to. I'll go a little bit off the cuff, though. We talked about him a bit with Max Chadwick last episode. I am most excited for Joshua Carty, kicker for the Rams. Finally, maybe the Rams will have a kicking game since Matt Gay was here. I say finally. I mean, it was literally 2 years ago. But they searched for a while.
Rough 2 years.
It's been a rough 2 years. Been a rough. A lot of nerves and a lot of biting of fingernails, I think, for Rams fans. Joshua Carty, you never know with rookie kickers. Does it translate over from college to the pros, which is bizarre because that's the one position that literally doesn't change. The goalposts are the same. The distance is the same. It's not like college basketball where the three-pointer line's different. It's not like playing certain positions in football where receivers have to get 2 feet in bounds instead of 1. Like kicker is the one position that literally does not change at all. And for whatever reason, a lot of high-profile college kickers do not translate over to the pros. I'm thinking of the one most notable recently was the Bucks drafted him, I think, out of Florida State. Aguilar, is that his name? He was like the best kicker in college football history, and then he just was a bust in the NFL. They took him like the 2nd round or something. So Carty, hopefully that will not be the case because dynamic kicker out of Stanford. Max Chadwick went into some of his numbers of his percentages and his depth and his leg strength and all this. You can read about it. Skinny T did an article about it on LAFBnetwork.com. But yeah, we might have a kicker again, baby. A lot of excitement. Joshua Carty. It's a Carty out here in LA.
It's a Carty party, definitely. Yeah, no, I love that one. I think it's get excited about your kicker, folks. From what Max Chadwick is saying, this guy, he was saying he compared him to on the level of Marvin Harrison Jr., Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Like that kind of generational talent where he's that sold on this guy being a really good kicker for the foreseeable future, and you're looking at 4 cheap years and then hopefully the Rams will have their heads screwed on about special teams by that point and they'll re-sign him to like a decent contract instead of just letting him walk like they let Zerline and Matt Gay and all that good stuff. But absolutely. I think I'm excited for one, so I don't have to just watch just an extra point just sail just off inexplicably.
Yeah.
One job. I don't want to think about you.
Right? Like you don't mean anything to me until you miss. Then you mean a lot. And it's frustrating. But yeah, when we had Max on, I didn't think we'd get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Joshua Carty in terms of elite players, generational talents in the same sentence. But we did. That's what happens here on the Ram Skinny podcast on the LAFB network. All right. Good stuff. One breakout player. Hopefully there's a lot of breakout players when you look at the youth of this team.
Yep.
But who is your, essentially, this is a high bar, but who's your Puka Nacua of the 2024 Rams?
I'm going to go on defense because they need it. I got a couple here, but I'm going with Quentin Lake.
Ooh.
I think Quentin Lake has been taking steps forward each in both of the last 2 seasons, and from what I've heard coming out of mini camps and OTAs and whatnot, everybody's talking him up. And there's a couple of other guys in his similar position actually coming out of the same draft that aren't getting that kind of same attention. If you look at his snaps, they really took off towards the end of the last season. And they used them all over the field. We had a chance to sit down with him at Radio Row for the Super Bowl, and
great guy.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, he's going to be in commentary at one point in his life for sure. Well dressed guy too.
Yes.
But he was saying, they moved me around from dimebacker, nickelback, like there are interviews out there. You can listen to it. But anyway, he was used all over there, which, that's that star role that kind of originated with Staley bringing that in. And that's what Ramsey ran. It's a super versatile. You kind of move him all over the place. The one big step he needs to make, this leap that he has to make, is becoming a really reliable outside corner to kind of fill that true star role, which I think maybe they're working on that. We'll see when training camp comes, and out there to check that out. But yeah, I just think he's improved year over year. Fantastic tackler, second best tackler on the team, right behind Ernest Jones by missed tackles. So, and yeah, and just an easy guy to root for too.
Skinny T bringing the heat. That's a great one. No, Quentin Lake might be one of my favorite players on the Rams. Loved him at UCLA. I mean, he's an LA kid through and through. Went to high school here, went to UCLA, now with the Rams. So LA kid, like you said, best dressed, but just an awesome dude. We had him on our Bruin Bible show. When he was playing for UCLA still. And then obviously we had him down at Radio Row, and just an awesome dude, but his play has improved significantly since being drafted in the 6th round. So I love that. And I think he definitely has potential. The versatility he brings and what he's able to do, if, like you said, if he can shore up the outside, then they have a guy that they can plug in anywhere, that whether they want him to be a true starter at one of those spots, or just like, hey, we're running with, dime packages and Quentin Lake, we're just going to put you over the field. So love that one. I'll go with offense because we could pick a lot of guys on defense I think we want, but this one, and I mentioned a little earlier, so maybe I'm a little higher on this guy than most, but I'm going to go Davis Allen, and here's why. I think he showed some promise last year when he came in late in the season. Tyler Higbee is still the starter at tight end when healthy, but we know healthy is kind of a conjecture word with him at times. But I think, and I know they signed Colby Parkinson, and I'm not at all comparing Davis Allen to this talent, but I think the fact that McVay and Snead legitimately tried to move up to 10 to draft Brock Bowers. Completely different player. I get that. So I don't want to get misquoted here. And Brock Bowers you can use as a receiver too, because he's just like a unicorn at tight end. But that tells me that they might have bigger plans for the tight end position, however you want to define the tight end position in this Rams ecosystem of offense, than they have maybe in years past. So I'm not saying Davis Allen can do what Brock Bowers does, but maybe if they see this identity of using this tight end formation a little bit differently than maybe they have and being more involved, I think of the tight ends that they have on the roster, Davis Allen gives them that versatility a little bit more. So we could see him, and by breakout, I'm not saying he's going to have like 1,500 yards as a tight end, but be that kind of face of the tight end that can eke up in those upper echelons of, because when you think of tight ends, Tyler Higbee, which is crazy for whatever Rams fans think, Tyler Higbee's a top 10 tight end in the NFL because there's just not dominant tight end play outside of Kittle, Kelsey, and that might be it. Dallas Goedert. Anyone else? And it might be those three.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that kind of like TJ Hawkinson kind of like
flirts.
Sam Laporta probably I would put up in there now.
Yeah.
So I could Ingram, see maybe.
Yeah. So I could see Davis Allen, if given the shot, maybe eke up into that like top 6, top 7. It'll be a slow climb. It'll be like Miley Cyrus, The Climb. Great song. It'll be like that. But anyway, Davis Allen.
Miley Cyrus, shout out.
Love
it.
Listen to it on my run all the time when I'm like dogging it and I just need that inspiration. I put on The Climb and, finish that set.
Try that out my next run. Yeah, no, I like him a lot. He proved that he can kind of fulfill that role in the passing game that Tyler Higbee has fulfilled over the last several years. Where he can, you saw it in the handful of games that he started in when Higbee wasn't in there. He caught, 8 passes in 2 games and 75 yards and a touchdown and handful of first downs. So obviously he can do what they need there. I think the reason they brought in Colby Parkinson is because he's just a much more experienced and capable blocker. And that's, I mean, if Davis Allen wants to take that next leap, that's kind of where he has to improve, because the Rams are always in those condensed sets and Higbee's very important in those. And, like you're saying about Higbee, it's like, if they used him differently, if they spread things out more often, which they do plenty of, they use 11 personnel constantly, so it's all over the place, but they do use a lot of the condensed sets for their running games, for kind of those jet sweeps, and that everybody can picture it in their head what I'm talking about, one back, but I think they also need this to happen as well. They gave Tyler Higbee the the old Rams deal, which is give him a contract and then he kind of falls off a cliff. He got injured. I can't say that he had anything to do with that, but
Yeah.
that seems to happen with guys where they sign a nice big extension and then they just kind of disappear. Again, not his fault, but it's just a pattern that's happened.
It is a pattern.
And they need a succession plan, and if they can find that in Davis Allen, who was in a mid round pick just last year, which you just look back at that draft class. If they can hit more on that draft class, oh my gosh, it's going down in history.
If Davis Allen can also be a viable player alongside what we saw last year, that might go down as one of the greatest draft classes in history. But anyway, speaking of draft classes, our next one thing, one highest performing rookie. Luckily, we didn't use a rookie in any of our breakout players. It makes it a little easier. So who is your highest performing rookie? And you can define performing however you want. Doesn't necessarily have to be yards or sacks or whatever. Just, this is our show. Do what you want. Highest performing rookie. Go.
Well, we already talked about Cardi.
Oh, that's true. We did say Cardi. Yeah. Which let's take him off the board, because if all things go well, hopefully he'll break the rookie record for scoring. But we'll take him off the board. So we already talked about him. So no Cardi.
I'm gonna stay on offense. I'm gonna lob up a softball for you on defense. I'm gonna say Jordan Whittington.
Oh,
he's gonna shock everybody, and he's gonna supplant Demarcus Robinson in that third wide receiver position. I don't know how he's gonna do it, but I've read some interesting things. I wrote an article earlier this month about kind of some tracking data that came out about just his ability within the route tree. Very complete route tree, which within the McVay offense, if you can do that, you've got a nice leg up there. And he's a sturdy dude. Think of Ben Skoranek in that kind of role as well. Where I don't know if he's ever going to line up in that fullback position, but just a road grader, just a willing and able blocker. And I think at Texas he just kind of got buried behind. They're bringing in transfers, just trying to make an explosive offense there. So that's I think he's going to be a sneaky good offense player.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. There you go. That could have been a bold prediction also, but you used it already. So
ratcheting it up. What's going to be the bold
real bold? Yeah. Skinny's he's not the skinny T anymore. He's the slippery noodle on the bold prediction, I think. So
the alter ego.
A lot of them. So an easy one here, I think, is Blake Corum. I'm not going to use him, but I think I've said before how I think Kyron Williams, thank you, can both combine for 2,000 yards together. I think they're going to be a great 1-2 punch, but I'm going to go with Braden Fisk of this group. And I love Jared Verse. I think he was a good pick. He was the right pick. He's going to be really solid. Sometimes first round picks take a little longer to really find their footing. There's a lot of pressure. Braden Fisk has pressure because the Rams traded up to get him. But I think how we've seen, and again, it's different without Eric Henderson and without Aaron Donald, but how we've seen the development with the Rams on interior guys has been a lot more successful than outside guys. And you talked about it a bunch before and after the draft. The Rams just don't really draft outside guys very often, but the ones they have drafted have never panned out. Not saying Jared Verse is not going to pan out by any means, so I don't want anyone to freak out that. But the success rate history tells us is every draft pick they've used on the interior has actually performed pretty well. When you look at the Sebastian Day, the Greg Gaines, the Kobe Turners, outside of Byron Young last year, the outside class has not quite, or takes longer to develop. So I think Verse will be very good. I think he was the right pick. I think he'll fit, even though his style of play might be a little different for the system in terms of 3-4 versus 4-3 hand in the dirt. But I think he'll figure it out. But I think Braden Fisk, with his size, based on what they need in the interior, losing Aaron Donald, will maybe have a quicker trajectory to higher performance in year one.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I think you could do a coin flip on either one of these guys. And if, and again, like you gotta go back to like need being the mother of invention or something like that.
Just dropping all the gems today. Nice.
Yeah, the misquoting things and all that. he's got a lot to live up to. He's got high expectations. And you look at the rest of the defensive line, and it's got one of these guys. It's got to be one of them. There's somebody, that's going to lead the way. That's going to, blaze the trail. And he seems like a trailblazer. He seems like a kind of guy that goes his own way, leaves a small school, bets on himself, goes to a big school, and does fantastically there as well. And you read the bios on him just about, how, what a worker he is, his work ethic, his lunch pail, is, like all of those things. And, and the Rams were specifically targeting guys with those kind of attributes because they know that you're going to have to work hard. It's like a boy named Sue. I named you Sue because I knew your life was going to be hard. So you're going to get beat up early on, but you're going to come out on the other side, tough and ready to go. And so I love it. I would love to see it, but no notes.
Yeah, we'll see. Second most sacks in the FBS over the last 2 seasons from the interior. So if he can bring that kind of production, what did Kobe Turner finish with? 6 sacks last year?
I want to say 8.
6, 8, 12. I'll look it up while you're talking bold, just so we correct ourselves. But
sure.
Yeah. So let's see what Braden Fisk can do in his rookie year. He won't have the benefit of a Aaron Donald double and triple team, but we'll see what those two can do together. I'm excited to see those two just together, Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk side by side. So unless they put them on both D edges and have a nose in between them, we'll see how they really end up lining them two up. But they're
going to move Michael Hoyt back into the middle. He's going to play nose tackle now.
Oh yeah, that is a jack of all trades right there, Mr. Michael Hoyt. So, all right, the moment you all been waiting for. Skinny T's boldest prediction. He's already dropped some bold gems. But what's his boldest?
Some Goldie Boldies.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna call him. Matthew Stafford wins MVP.
Ooh.
He played at such a high level last season. Missed a game. But now you look at the years that have been put together on the Rams. 2021, just slinging it across the yard. Old school Matthew Stafford, putting up stats left and right, throwing interceptions occasionally, but had a great year. 2022, we forget about that one, never existed. 2023 comes back and he's still slinging it, but he's cleaned up his game a lot. He's not throwing those interceptions like he did in 2021. 2024, we got a better running game, a better offensive line, quite possibly the best trio of receivers that he's had in maybe his career. And McVay calling plays. Matthew Stafford, it's all set up for him. He's going to earn that big paycheck that he's going to get in the next coming weeks. So that's my bold take right there. Take it to the bank. Don't go bet on it, on my advice, though.
BetOnline.ag. You heard it here first from Skinny T. All your money. Put your mortgage, your home mortgage on Stafford winning MVP. No, I love that. I have actually put some money on that because I think it's very viable and, in a quote unquote contract year, even though he's under contract, in a guaranteed year, he wants to ball out, obviously. Go for that ring, that final ring, potentially. Love that one. So hope that comes true, obviously. Real quick, Kobe Turner. We just did a huge disservice to him. 9 sacks. Where did I come up with 6? I don't know where that came from. I think because remember PFF has like weird sack differences, like their stats are off sometimes. Maybe I saw that. I don't know. But 9 sacks. Kobe Turner, we apologize. The should be defensive rookie of the year. Still got robbed there.
Next time we have a PFF guy on there, we got to nail down that sack number. How do they? Why do they always have more sacks there than everywhere else? Anyway,
we got to figure that out.
Bold prediction from the big man himself, Ryan Dyrud.
Bold prediction. I don't know how. Maybe this isn't that bold. I think it's kind of bold because it doesn't happen very often. But I'm going to say Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua combine for 3,000 yards receiving between the two of them. To put that into context, because maybe some are like, "Oh, that should be easy." Like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill last year. Tyreek Hill, who led all receivers, they did not make it to 3,000 yards. They were like 100 yards short. Now I think they got a little banged up at the end there. I think Waddle missed a couple games, but Cooper Kupp has missed a couple games the last 2 seasons. So, yeah, I think it's tougher to do than probably people think. So that's my bold prediction. 3,000 yards between the two of them. As it stands right now, I think Cooper Kupp will lead with Puka Nacua coming in second. But I would not be shocked at all if Puka Nacua ends up being wide receiver 1 with Cooper Kupp playing kind of the help role or whatever you want to call it. But either way, combined for 3,000 yards. Is that bold? Is that too easy? Is that not bold enough?
I don't know enough about receiver duo stats to comment on it. Actually, there's a great article up on the 33rd team, which is a fantastic website. It's got some good analysis on there. They have Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt as the third best receiving duo of all time. Fun little stat concerning them here. 4 seasons together, duo combined for 613 receptions and 10,000 yards receiving, 57 touchdowns. So 3,000 is pretty good. If they did 10,000 in 4 years. So yeah, I would say I love it.
That puts you on that list of greatness, of eliteness, right? So, I'm for it. So, again, if you look at, just up the road, the Niners, right? Like between Ayuk, Kittle, and Samuel, between the 3 of them, they didn't get to 3,000 yards. So,
wow.
I think it's harder to do than people might think. So 3,000 yards, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua.
Excellent.
See it happen. And I already said on past shows that Blake Corum and Kyron Williams will combine for 2,000 yards rushing. So we're seeing this offense humming, I guess. The greatest show at SoFi.
I love it. Yeah. More touchdowns for Puka Nacua. That's what we need.
Okay. There we go. I like that. Why? Is he on your fantasy team already? Or
no, it didn't have enough last season.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
like it was the one statistic where it was kind of like, yay.
Yeah, he finished. I think that's where I got 6. He finished with 6 touchdowns, right? Maybe that's where
I think
the other rookie.
Yeah.
So Dieter Brock apparently was thrown in the rock in the red zone, not Matthew Stafford. So, that's like two times in 2 weeks I've gotten Dieter Brock in the podcast. I'm proud. Anyway, anything else left to add, Skinny T?
Hey, great interview with Sean McVay on the Green Light podcast. Go check that out. Not to promote everybody else's stuff, but a lot of good tidbits in there. One of which is that he seems to be completely reinvigorated as a coach. So all that talk about retiring, I think that's in the past. I think that's a thing of post 2022 thing. He says his greatest year coaching. The thing he's most proud of, the year he's most proud of is 2023. So
not even a Super Bowl year. I mean, last year was the piece de resistance for him and Raheem Morris. It was a masterclass of coaching and playing. And yeah, so I think also he probably realized, just had his kid, beautiful baby boy. And he's probably like, I need to be out of the house more. Like, this is a lot. I need to be at the facility. So if I'm retiring and doing this all day, it's a lot of work, Coach McVay, for those of us that have kids. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of work trying to work from home with a young, small human being. So surprised me he's not in here right now, running around.
His contract might facilitate a few more helping hands in his situation than in yours.
Yes. Well, apparently not, according to the NFLPA rankings, that the Rams are towards the bottom in terms of family care. So apparently they need to change that now with their head man with the kid. They got to have better family facilities on campus.
I don't know if I said it last time, but happy Father's Day. And one of the dads of the year right here. He's constantly juggling a little one, just he and his wife, and in a cute but small apartment in Pasadena.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. So, yes, happy belated Father's Day to all the great fathers out there. I know we're a little close to a week removed, but yeah, always great. And it's very important. Fathers are very important, play a huge role. So, all right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB Network. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. It's been a fun off season. The show goes on. We'll be back next week. Plenty more to talk about. Training camp dates were announced 23rd, right? July 23rd is when the Rams report, both rookies and veterans.
Vets, yeah.
So Loyola Marymount, we will be there, either both of us or one of us, or some of us, whatever. We're going to be down there for sure, hanging out. Hopefully we can hang out with a bunch of you. If you're going to be there, hit us up. We'd love to say what up. We appreciate you for watching, listening, supporting. Hit that like and subscribe if you're on the Rams LAFB YouTube channel. If you haven't done that yet, what are you doing? Hit that like and subscribe. We appreciate it. If you're on Apple, Spotify, hit that subscribe as well for the Rams Skinny. And on Twitter, at Ryan Dyer LAFB, at RL Anderson LAFB, at LAFB Network is the main channel, and LAFBnetwork.com is where this all ties together. Everyone be well. Have a blessed weekend. For Slippery Noodle Skinny Tea, I'm Ryan Dyer. Everyone have a good one.